In a world where a person's worth is measured by what they own, the wealthy live as if they exist above everyone else. Luxury cars, dazzling jewelry, designer clothes, and exclusive parties open only to a select few. At the center of this world is Laura Palmer, a successful figure in the film industry who knows exactly how the system works and how to play by its rules. Laura spends most of her days trapped in endless pitch meetings, listening to writers enthusiastically present grand ideas that rarely ever become real films. Most of the scripts bore her, but she plays her part perfectly. A fixed smile, a polite nod, and carefully performed interest. During one of these meetings, she is approached by her ex-husband Tony, a screenwriter himself, currently struggling through a dark period fueled by alcoholism. Tony begins pitching what sounds like a script, but Laura quickly realizes he isn't talking about a movie at all. He's talking about their life together, their troubled past and the collapse of their marriage. It's clear that he's still depressed and trying to stay away from alcohol. Before leaving, Tony asks if she remembers their daughter Anna's birthday. Laura lies and says yes, even though she has completely forgotten. As soon as the meeting ends, she tells her assistant Christian to buy a birthday cake for Anna. Not long after, Alba, Laura's fierce rival, makes her presence known. Confident and ruthless, Alba never misses an opportunity to assert her dominance. She announces that billionaire Snail has arrived in his private jet and is about to choose someone for a massive new project, one she's certain will go to her. Laura hides her anxiety and immediately heads toward the crowded reception area. There, she meets Snail's son, Sebastian, and tries to extract any useful information from him. Instead, he mocks her outdated watch and casually jokes about how wealthy people have been dying recently, mentioning the sudden deaths of 2 billionaires. Before realizing it, he lets slip that Alba has already been selected for the project. Laura is crushed but forces a smile for the cameras. She returns to the party as if nothing happened. When she finally gets Alba alone, she congratulates her with a fake smile, insisting she's genuinely happy for her. Later, Laura rides home in the car with Christian when she receives a call from Tony, who is stranded at the airport amid total chaos. He tells her that an unusually large number of people suddenly booked flights for no clear reason. He tries to explain more, but the call cuts off abruptly. Moments later, Christian checks the news and discovers that the Pope has died, becoming the third major figure to pass away within just a few days. Soon after, Laura receives shocking news. Alba has been removed from Snail's project, and the billionaire has decided to offer the position to Laura instead. Fully aware of how crucial this opportunity is, Laura calls Tony and asks him to take her place at Anna's birthday celebration. She then heads straight to the airport, where she is allowed to board Snail's private jet, while Christian is denied entry, as the invitation is for her alone. On board the plane, Laura speaks with another passenger who mentions the sudden death of yet another billionaire. The conversation unsettles her even more when she notices the man's teeth glowing in a strange, unnatural way. Later during the flight, Laura makes a video call to Tony and Anna to celebrate the birthday remotely. The parents attempt to put their differences aside and lift their daughter's spirits, but Anna is clearly upset by the situation. She ends the call before even blowing out the candles on her cake. As the plane begins its descent, Laura looks out the window expecting to see the glowing lights of a vast city. Instead, she's completely caught off guard. Endless stretches of snow-covered land spread out beneath her. It becomes clear, they've arrived in Alaska. While the other guests are transported by car, Laura is led to a dog sled. The man guiding it takes her phone, hands her a thick fur coat, and sets off across the frozen wilderness. Along the way, the man talks about Snail's empire, rapidly growing companies, high salaries, and full benefits for new employees. Somewhere far behind them, something strange happens. The private jet explodes. But the raging snowstorm swallows the sound, and no one hears a thing. When Laura reaches the settlement, she's taken straight to a large gathering where Snail personally welcomes the new arrivals. He speaks about the early settlers of Alaska, explaining that this place wasn't built merely to honor them, but to serve as a safe haven, far removed from what's happening in the outside world. What truly captures Laura's attention isn't the isolation or the strange rituals, but Snail's confidence as he addresses the growing crisis. He already knows that several of the world's wealthiest figures, including the Pope, have died within the past 24 hours. While the media blames a pandemic, Snail doesn't believe it. He's convinced these events are a targeted attack against the global elite. Snail is also known for his massive humanitarian donations. He claims to have rescued thousands from modern slavery by giving them jobs in his gold mines. Now, he reveals his most ambitious plan yet, launching multiple companies dedicated to the public good, spanning energy, infrastructure, education, and more. Everyone present has been chosen to lead one of these sectors. His goal, he explains, is to prove that money can be a tool for serving society, not just personal luxury. One guest, Mr. Yi, objects, questioning whether any venture can succeed without prioritizing profit. Snail calmly replies that his core company will finance these initiatives, and that there are still people willing to invest billions for the sake of helping others. Later that night, Laura steps outside to smoke a cigarette, and Snail joins her. He tells her he deliberately ignored Sebastian's pressure to bring Alba, and after reviewing their records, he concluded that Laura's leadership style is stronger and more practical. He expresses disappointment in Sebastian's obsession with appearances and displays of wealth. Then he makes his offer. He wants Laura to take over Sebastian's company. He hands her a book, one that contains a message he had previously published. The next morning, Laura boards a helicopter alongside Mr. Yi. Each of them has a copy of Snail's book. Mr. Yi tells her he's headed to inspect refugee camps in Sicily, then makes an inappropriate joke that leaves Laura uncomfortable. During the flight, she tries calling Anna several times, but gets no response. When she checks her phone, she sees new reports about terrorist threats and mysterious deaths linked to luxury goods. The term fear of the rich is trending everywhere, signaling a growing wave of hatred toward the wealthy. When Laura arrives in London, the city is in chaos. People are panicked, but Christian greets her while downplaying the situation, dismissing it as media exaggeration. Laura begins to question her place in all of this. Do people see her as part of the problem? She's wealthy now, but compared to billionaires, she still feels painfully poor. Despite the tension, the charity auction at Buckingham Palace goes on as planned, aiming to raise funds for disaster relief. Laura attends and shocks everyone by placing a massive bid of $5 million. It becomes clear that Snail advised her to spend generously, for the right reasons, and Laura feels that this moment is exactly that. For the first time in a long while, she feels a sense of calm, believing that money might truly have the power to help people after all. At that moment, Laura receives a call from Anna and steps aside to answer. The signal is weak, and as she struggles to focus on the conversation, her attention is drawn to a man standing nearby. His teeth are unnaturally white, so bright they almost seem to glow. Before Laura can process what she's seeing or comment on it, a piercing scream erupts from the next room. She rushes inside to find a member of the royal family collapsed on the floor, convulsing violently before dying. In the days that follow, the world rapidly descends into panic. Screens are flooded with headlines about a mysterious flu that affects only the extremely wealthy. Some call it a virus, others believe it's a series of coordinated attacks carried out by extraterrestrials, and many speak of ancient curses. It is eventually confirmed that glowing teeth are a clear and visible symptom of the illness. As fear turns into collective rage, people begin openly celebrating the deaths of billionaires and world leaders. Protests erupt across major cities. Wealth is no longer admired, it is now seen as a danger that must be eliminated. Amid this madness, Laura receives a call from her mother, who tells her that Anna is now with her in Barcelona. Growing increasingly desperate to leave, Laura heads to Snail's London office, only to find it on the verge of collapse. Employees wear masks, phones ring non-stop, and anxiety hangs heavy in the air. Inside the executive suite, she finds Sebastian in a complete breakdown. He rants furiously about his father handing the company to Laura, shouting about betrayal and his rightful inheritance. Once again, Laura notices what she saw earlier on the plane. Sebastian's teeth are clearly glowing. Later, Laura asks Christian to book her a flight to Barcelona, but he tells her all flights have been cancelled and the government has declared a state of emergency. She demands that he find a private plane at any cost. She is determined to reach her daughter. When Laura steps outside, she finds the streets surrounded by furious protesters, with armed soldiers standing shoulder to shoulder to keep the crowd from storming the building. Without saying a word, she slips into the back seat of one of the company cars and quietly closes the door. Trying to distract herself, Laura calls her financial broker. He explains that the collapse of global markets and major assets has caused her investments to skyrocket in value. Technically, she is now richer than ever, possibly even a billionaire. The news unsettles her. She orders him to sell everything immediately, but he tells her it's impossible. The markets are frozen, and no trades are being processed. Her only options now are to spend the money or give it away to charity. When the driver overhears the call, he realizes who she is. Calmly, he reaches for a mask and puts it on. Laura eventually arrives at her apartment and begins packing. She pauses in front of the mirror, carefully examining her teeth. She sees nothing unusual, but the fear won't leave her, as if it's only a matter of time. Suddenly, there's a knock at the door. 3 soldiers stand outside and inform her that she has been selected for a preventive relocation to a secure facility, supposedly for her own protection. Laura pretends to agree, then slips out through the emergency exit, gets into her car, and speeds away. After driving for a long distance, she reaches blocked roads and is forced to abandon the car. She continues on foot until she finally reaches a side gate near an old airfield, where she meets Christian. A crowd has already gathered, mostly other wealthy people, desperate to escape. It becomes clear that Christian has managed to secure Laura a seat on a small private plane. While waiting to board the plane, Laura asks Christian to hold on to her financial assets until the chaos settles. She tries to frame it as a precaution tied to the divorce, claiming that Tony might try to take everything. But Christian immediately sees through her. She's trying to get rid of her wealth before things get worse. He flatly refuses and walks away, leaving Laura on the verge of collapse. As soon as the plane takes off, tension fills the cabin. Laura tries to distract herself and calls Tony, telling him she's on her way to Barcelona. He surprises her by saying he's already at her mother's house. Before she can respond, the call drops due to poor signal. Inside the cabin, anxious passengers begin talking about recent events. The conversation quickly turns into an argument over the plane's true destination and whether they're safe at all. Panic erupts when someone notices a man's teeth glowing. Realizing he's infected, some passengers demand that he be removed immediately. Others try to restrain him, and the man fights back amid the chaos. People shove violently, until 2 passengers crash into a control panel near the emergency exit. The lock suddenly releases. A powerful rush of air blasts into the cabin as passengers scream and cling to their seats. In an instant, the man with the glowing teeth and another passenger are hurled toward the open door, until someone takes advantage of the moment and kicks them both out of the plane. The disturbance finally ends. When the plane lands in Spain, Laura leaves the airport in silence. The situation there is no better, with security patrols spread across major roads. She finds a quiet spot and scrolls through her phone. Reports confirm that the illness is now officially known as the rich flu. Online posts speak of billionaires burning their assets in desperate attempts to stop the spread. Laura then searches for Snail's name and finds a series of articles confirming his complete disappearance. His companies have shut down, and his assets have been liquidated. Driven by desperation, Laura pulls out the book he gave her and flips through the pages, stopping at a line that reads, "A person is only rich until they need to be rich again." She lingers on it, finally understanding the truth. Snail never gave them ownership stakes as he claimed. He only paid them enormous salaries, deliberately reducing his own wealth to avoid the same fate. In the next scene, Tony comes to pick her up, and they drive along rural roads. As they approach a checkpoint, Laura grows anxious about her bag filled with jewelry and the little money she has left. Tony tells her to stay calm and hides the bag under the seat. When the officers move closer, a truck suddenly crashes into the barrier, distracting everyone. Tony seizes the moment, floors the gas pedal, and speeds away. Soon after, they arrive at a small mountain town where Laura's mother, Marta, lives. The place appears peaceful on the surface, but anti-wealth slogans cover the walls and buildings. Then Laura spots her daughter in the distance, laughing with a group of teenagers. Anna is wearing a shirt mocking the rich, a sight that clearly angers Laura. Later, Laura joins a communal dinner with the townspeople, but no one speaks to her. Their eyes drift to her watch as whispers spread through the room. One man remarks that the virus is moving down the wealth ladder, wondering aloud when it will be her turn. That night, Laura confesses everything to Tony, the true extent of her fortune, her attempt to transfer her assets to Christian, and her constant fear as she repeatedly checks her teeth, terrified they might begin to glow. Tony listens calmly, without judgment. But before the conversation can continue, a local man knocks on the door, warning them that the townspeople are planning to force Laura to leave. Marta and Tony protest, insisting it's unfair, but outside, the crowd has already begun to gather. Without wasting any time, they gather their belongings and leave immediately. One man offers them his boat, and Marta suggests heading to Tanzania, where an old friend of hers lives outside any official system and might agree to shelter them. They set off at night, and the journey is painfully slow and exhausting. They survive by fishing and collecting rainwater. Other boats pass them, people fleeing the same fate, some still dressed in expensive clothes. One night, they hear cries for help coming from the sea. When they investigate, they find a woman floating on a piece of wood. They pull her aboard and care for her. When she regains consciousness, she tells them her name is Yolan, and that she ended up in the water after escaping the refugee camp she was being held in. The next day, a Libyan military vessel suddenly approaches them. Soldiers board the boat and immediately detain everyone on charges of transporting a foreign refugee. Their boat is tied to the military ship, and they are told they will be taken to a processing center. At dawn, the soldiers stop near a remote island and order everyone to jump into the water and swim to shore. When they refuse, they are forced into the sea. With extreme effort, they manage to reach land, exhausted, but alive. At the edge of the beach stands a memorial dedicated to migrants who lost their lives at sea. From there, they head inland in search of shelter and soon come across a refugee camp. The place is chaotic. A massive crowd surrounds an army truck attempting to distribute food. People push and scream, desperate for anything. Yolan fights her way through the crowd and returns with food and water, which she shares with the family. Later, doctors arrive to conduct medical examinations. After confirming everyone is stable, the refugees are divided into groups. Yolan is sent to the African tents, while Laura and her family are directed to the European section. A soldier explains that Africa has closed its borders and is no longer accepting anyone except its own citizens. Laura tries to explain that she donated millions of dollars to African charities, but the soldier cuts her off coldly, telling her that none of that matters anymore. Later, Laura suddenly notices Mr. Yi sitting alone. She approaches him and asks about Snail. He tells her that poorer countries are holding on, while Europe is collapsing completely. The world of the wealthy is falling apart, he says, and he advises her to stay hidden until morning. Then he removes his mask, revealing glowing teeth, proof that he, too, is infected. That night, the family leaves the main camp and hides with Yolan among ancient ruins. In the quiet, Laura apologizes to Tony for being emotionally distant all these years. He doesn't respond, and she senses something is terribly wrong. Coney opens his mouth, revealing glowing teeth. He tells her that when Christian refused to take over her assets, he did it himself. On paper, he became wealthy, and that's how he contracted the virus. He asks Laura to take care of their daughter. Laura breaks down in tears. Before they can fully process what's happening, two men emerge from the shadows and attack Marta, knocking her to the ground. They grab Anna and try to flee, but the parents immediately give chase. Coney tackles one of the men and begins beating him, but he is stabbed during the struggle. Laura grabs a rock and strikes the attacker's head with full force, then turns on the second man, beating him until he stops moving. Coney does not survive his injuries. He dies, leaving Laura completely shattered. The next morning, the family returns to the camp. What was once crowded and chaotic is now completely destroyed. The tents are torn apart, the supplies are gone, and only a handful of survivors remain. With nowhere else to go, they begin working alongside the others to build a boat, using whatever materials they can find. After days of exhausting labor, the boat is finally ready. They set out once more, clinging to the hope of reaching safety. Several days pass at sea before land finally appears on the horizon. Hope returns, briefly, only to be shattered when a patrol vessel suddenly emerges and slams into the boat, tearing it apart. Screams fill the air as people fall into the water. Laura clings to a piece of wood, calling out Anna's name, but her voice is swallowed by the roar of the waves. Eventually, she is washed ashore, barely conscious. Local villagers find her and help her to her feet, but they don't speak her language. Before she can even thank them, soldiers begin spreading through the area, searching the shoreline. Laura escapes through a nearby tunnel and hides inside an abandoned building. In one of the rooms, she finds a silent elderly woman who says nothing, but hands her a set of local clothes. Laura changes quickly, and the soldiers pass by without noticing her. Later, she returns to the beach and sees locals rescuing survivors. She spots Anna and Yolan among those saved, but Marta did not survive. All the refugees are loaded onto an overcrowded truck with no seats. They travel for days without knowing where they're headed. When the truck finally stops, they are ordered to continue on foot. With no other choice, they walk until they reach a remote shoreline. At the entrance, the rules are made clear. Everyone must surrender whatever they still own. Personal belongings are collected in a large container to be shared among the community. Laura looks at her watch, the only thing she has kept with her from the beginning. She hesitates for a moment then gives it up. Life in the village is harsh, but structured. Laura, Anna, and Yolan work alongside everyone else, farming, carrying supplies, and building shelters. One night, while walking through the camp, Laura notices another woman wearing her watch. Desperate, she offers a few polished shells in exchange. The woman agrees. Laura feels a surge of happiness as she gets the watch back and smiles. But as she smiles, her teeth appear noticeably whiter, a clear sign that the infection has finally reached her. And that's where the film ends.